because my face was all red and I just looked very fatigued. So I end up making an appointment with a kidney specialist. I go out there and he says, your kidneys are failing. You're at stage 4 renal failure.
Hello and welcome to Crazy Amazing God Stories, where ordinary people share extraordinary moments of God revealing his power, grace, and love in our everyday lives. Today we're going to talk about trust. It takes a lifetime to build it and just a few seconds to destroy it. Have you ever seen that exercise where a person stands behind you and you have to fall back and you have to trust that person behind you to catch you? We used to do that as kids, and doing it the first time was hard, but after that, 4th or 5th time, it was easy, almost a game. Have you ever had to convince someone to do something when they don't trust you? It's almost impossible. Imagine how God feels sometimes. So, what's the difference between trust and faith? Because they are different. I've heard it said, faith is what you have when you don't know, and trust is what you have when you do know. It takes a relationship to have trust. And in today's context, I'd have to say it's the quality of the relationship that matters, especially when it's a really important issue. Psalm 37:23 says, "The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delights in his way." If we believe he has our best interest in mind, we trust him. But that can still be hard. And if you don't know him, it's really hard, especially when you want something different than what he has in mind for you. What do you assume is happening if every proverbial door in your life slams in your face? My first reaction is to get annoyed. But like it says in Revelation 2:10, be faithful until death, and I will give you the crown of life. My guests today had to trust and have faith in the Lord because it was a matter of life and death. Please welcome to the podcast, Mary and Ara Maywood. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's get started. I want to know a little bit about you guys. What you do all day for a living?
Well, I do interior design for a living, and my husband does accounting for a living. So
Interior design. So are you judging my room?
it looks great.
All right. Well, I don't know about that. So you're a math guy, huh?
Yeah. More of an accountant. I think accounting is not as much math as knowing the rules of accounting. So thankfully, it's not a lot of math involved.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So are you a math person too?
I am only the person that sends out the invoices when he needs me to for the clients.
So you guys have a pretty good balance going on, math, and then you have the artistic eye.
Yes.
Yeah, we have the logical and the creative side. So it works out well for us.
It's a good balance.
Very nice, very nice. So what do you guys like to eat? You said you're Greek and you're Armenian?
I'm Armenian.
We're both Armenian, but I have a little bit of Greek in me as well.
Okay, so what do we like to eat? I know that Greek food can be pretty interesting.
Oh, dolmatas.
A lot of our foods are very interesting. We have, for us, we grew up with it, so it's normal.
It's normal.
A lot of the stuff now that is becoming familiar or becoming more fashionable, especially in Arizona, are the Middle Eastern foods, the falafels, the shawarmas, and all that. But we grew up with all that.
Which one of you guys cooks?
Oh, she does.
I'm the cook.
I can boil an egg, and that's pretty much it.
Is she a good cook?
Excellent cook. That's why I gained a lot of weight after my little procedure.
I love it. Okay, what kind of movies you guys like?
Comedy for me.
A lot of comedy. I grew up watching, I was a big Monty Python fan, a lot of sarcastic comedy.
We're going to have to pull out some Monty Python lines. I got.
Oh, he knows them. He knows them all. He knows them.
And unfortunately, I've recited a lot of the lines from movies. So yeah,
Monty Python is one of the most quotable movies. I mean, all of the Monty Python movies, till people are pretty much over it, right? Like I quote them all the time.
No, my family usually rolls their eyes when I start going into a scene, particularly anything from the Holy Grail, any scene from the Holy Grail. They just roll their eyes and walk away. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the most quotable movie in my past, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about your family.
Family. We have a 23-year-old son. He's on the spectrum. He's amazing. And we have a 19-year-old daughter who's currently going to community college and is on her way to ASU.
That's right.
And she wants to get into orthotics.
Mhm.
So we're excited about that.
Orthotics, what is that?
Basically to help people who need to walk or need an arm or
okay.
fingers.
Okay.
So
Very nice, very nice.
No.
Are they all from Arizona, from California?
we're originally from California. So we are transplants here to Arizona.
Your kids were born in California?
Yes. Both kids were born in
Yeah.
California.
So you brought them here, huh?
We bought them here.
We
Yeah.
did. And
I don't think we bought them here. I think God brought us all here.
Mhm.
It wasn't by choice.
Well put, well put. All right, well, let's get into your story. I know when I heard it, I was really impressed. It was very interesting, and I just thought there was a lot of components to it that would be interesting for people to listen to because of basically the way you guys listen to the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me a little bit about how it starts, when it started, what happened.
Well, if you want to do the opening, I'll take it from there. How did it start?
I think for us, growing up, we were both born overseas. But growing up in an Armenian family, the Lord's presence was always there. It was never a situation where we stumbled upon it later on in life. We grew up with that. And being Armenian, the Armenian people have been Christians for a very long time. Our church that we go to, which is the Armenian Apostolic Church, it's been around since 301 AD. So we've been around for a while.
Yeah, you guys have been around for a while.
Yeah.
I was an altar boy for a while until I got a little bit older, and then somebody else took over. So we were always involved in it. But as life's challenges came and went, we kind of got closer and then backed off from God and our beliefs and our faith in God.
That's pretty common. That's what happened to me. I mean, I was gone for 30 something years. I had my back turned to the Lord.
And I think for us, I think the birth, when Shant was born, when our son was born, I think we were fine. We were happy about it until
autism kicked in. And that was, that just changes your life completely because everything that you thought life was going to be and all the dreams and hopes that you have for your kids has now turned upside down. And now you enter a world that you know nothing about. So definitely at that point in our lives, there was a lot of anger, frustration, a lot of why me, why my son. So yeah, there was a time I was incredibly angry with God, but time heals things, and God had a way of revealing himself and his love and completely changing my perception around.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I know he changed me for sure. He came after me. The hounds of heaven came after me. So
I think you had a situation with Shant. I think it's worth mentioning about. I remember when he was going to go for a ride, and you had to go back in and find his CD.
Yeah, that was a tough day. He was having a lot of behaviors, and my parents said, let's put him in the car and take him for a drive. And I was just at my wit's end. I was just so frustrated. I couldn't get him to calm down. And so we put him in the car to go for a ride. And then I said to my parents, I said, let me go back in and pick out his favorite CD. And they were just little kid songs. And I thought by putting on that music, he would calm down a little bit and it would give me time to diffuse. So I went back in the house looking for that CD. And then in front of me popped out a DVD that my dad loves. It was a movie called Jesus of Nazareth. And it was from the 70s. And I think Robert Powell was the actor back then. And I remember looking at that DVD and I could literally hear God saying in my head, I died on the cross for you. I could feel it. I can hear it. And I sort of just froze in time. And I don't know how much time had gone by, but I remember my mom walking in and I sort of came to and she said, what's going on? We've been waiting for you for 15 minutes. And I never even realized that much time had passed by because I was so entrenched with God in my head.
God was reminding you what he did, huh?
He did. He did. And from that day forward, everything started to change.
Yeah, I don't think everyone comprehends or grasps, they can wrap their brain around what he did for us on that cross.
No.
Yeah. All right. So tell me a little bit about the story about that. What got you out to Arizona?
What got us out to Arizona initially was a friend who had moved out here to Arizona from California. And he kept talking to us about coming out to Arizona. And Ara would come home and say, hey, Greg wants us to visit Arizona. And I said, no, absolutely not. I mean, what am I going to do in the desert? I'm good here. And I knew nothing about Arizona.
Where in California were you living?
We started in Orange County.
Yep.
And ended up in LA, city of
Fernando
Glendale.
Valley,
Yeah,
and then Glendale.
and then Glendale, and then eventually moved out here to Gilbert. But it was interesting. Arizona kept popping up, and we weren't really sure what was going on. And at that time, when Greg was talking about coming out to Arizona, we were actually trying to find a house to purchase out in California, and for whatever reason, every door kept closing, and we were frustrated because we couldn't understand why no house was working out for us at that time. And we were well qualified to purchase. It just wasn't working out. And so I think at some point, Ara and we had a talk and I said, well, there must be something bigger coming our way that we don't see. So let's keep our faith. Let's see what happens. And then eventually a day came where he wasn't feeling very well. And I
actually I wasn't for a while, but we had just finished tax season in 2017, and we had gone out to dinner with a friend of ours.
Yep.
And the gentleman kept saying, you don't look well.
You don't look well.
You don't look good, because my face was all red and I just looked very fatigued. I say, we just got done with tax season, so I'm tired. He goes, no, there's something off about you. His sister was an MD. So during dinner, he calls his sister, and I knew the family. I knew his sister. I knew this gentleman.
So it was like that. You looked that rough.
Yeah.
He did.
It was not good. So he called his sister and said, hey, by the way, do you have any openings this week? Ara needs to come and see you. She goes, yeah, come on Friday. I think this was on a Wednesday. Okay, Friday we'll go. I go in, do a regular checkup. Comes back to me same day. She says, you need to go see a kidney specialist right away. Okay, so I end up making an appointment with a kidney specialist. I go out there and he says, your kidneys are failing. You're at stage 4 renal failure.
Now tell me what stage 4 is.
Stage 4 is basically your kidneys are functioning at roughly 30%.
Oh, so you were pretty far down the hill.
Very much down the hill. Stage 4 is just before you start dialysis, and you have to go in for a transplant.
So you were right on the brink.
I was right on the brink. I had no idea.
We had no idea.
You were just toughing it out.
I didn't even, for me, it was like, okay, it's just fatigue. There's things I have to do. And never thought about it. In hindsight, maybe I should have, because my dad passed away relatively young because of that.
He had the same problem you did?
He had the same problem. He passed away at 51. So I was 12 years old at the time that he passed away. So he had heart problems, but kidney was the major one. One of my uncles, another aunt, his siblings had the same thing. I have a cousin who had it. So my father's side had this issue. But I never followed up with anything until this day. And then once the nephrologist said, you're at stage 4, we start doing treatments. We start taking certain medications and stuff. And one day I get sent over to a ultrasound.
Hey there, and thanks for listening. If you're enjoying this story, be sure to hit that like, follow, or subscribe button so you can hear other amazing stories from other ordinary people, sharing how God has revealed his power, grace, and love in their everyday lives. If you know anyone who needs to hear this story, don't hesitate to share it. It could make all the difference to them. Back to the story.
Hollywood, Kaiser Permanente. I remember this very well. And the nurse happened to be an Armenian nurse. And us Armenians tend to be very tribal. We kind of look out for each other. And she asked me, do you know how far along you are? I said, yeah. She goes, a friend of ours had the same condition as you did. And they went out to Arizona and they were able to get a kidney transplant within a couple of years.
So Arizona came up
Again. And that's, I think, when the light bulb finally went on and we realized God was trying to tell us something, because every door in California was closing. And lo and behold, we didn't know, because bigger doors were opening up for us. We just did not understand it at that time. But once the nurse said that the waiting list in Arizona is much shorter than California, the light bulb finally came on, because I think the waiting list in California was 10 to 12 years.
At the time, it was 10 to 12. This is pre-COVID.
What waiting list was it?
This is for the kidney
donor
transplant.
to get a transplant.
Transplant waiting list for in California pre-COVID was 10 to 12.
Oh, man.
And the nurse said, you don't have that much time. You just don't. So go to Arizona.
Yeah, and Arizona at the time was 3 to 5 years. So for us, it was like, okay, no brainer.
Do we just have more kidneys out here? Or?
No,
we don't have many people out here is what it is.
Oh, that's
so it's
what
not
it
as densely populated. So the opportunity for a donor is much better. So the light bulb went on. We finally realized what God was trying to do, where he was trying to send us, and what the purpose behind it was. So we left the kids with my parents. We came out here for a weekend.
Check around.
Yeah. And within that weekend, we purchased a property in Gilbert. We really liked Gilbert. And
so you trusted God a lot.
We came out with
blindly,
nothing but faith.
Yeah.
Just
faith.
blind faith.
Blind faith. We just knew there was just this unspoken feeling that we both had that this is the right thing to do. We just felt it. And when we went back and told everybody that we're moving to Arizona, of course, we were met with a lot of obstacles from people saying, family, friends, clients,
a lot of
saying
skepticism. Yeah. You're
crazy. You're leaving your office, your family, your friends behind. We said, yeah. And it wasn't, how should I say, it wasn't something that we even wanted to try and convince people. We just knew this was what we had to do.
For us, once Arizona kept coming up and we came out here and looked around and we really liked the area, particularly Gilbert.
Yeah.
For us, it was like, yeah, this is where it's going to be. In fact, I remember one time we had met an agent through Greg, and we were driving through Gilbert, and Mary looked at me and said, well, what do you think? How do you feel? No, that was your question. Yeah. How do you feel? I said, I feel at home.
Yeah.
She said, so do I. And I think within a couple of hours, we found the community, we found the house, we put a deposit, and it was that quick. And we came out here with nothing but faith. We knew it. It was just going to happen.
It was going to happen. And despite all the discouragement from others, we moved out here, got settled, and, the children had to acclimate to a whole different world. And that wasn't easy. They didn't have any friends out here, no cousins out here. So there was a time where it was challenging, but we held on to the faith thinking it's going to happen one day.
You had to have conviction. If God told you to come out here and there was a lot of obstacles, people were telling you no, you guys just decided, nope. God said so.
Yeah.
We decided early on that we're going to go where the good Lord leads us. It doesn't matter what anyone says. We're just going to follow His guidance. We had a lot of family, particularly family, because we really knew nobody out here. Nobody.
What year was this? Soul. How long ago was this?
This was in 2018. April of 2018 is when we came out and looked around, and in 2 days we put a down payment on a property, and
And really, we didn't know the landscape of Gilbert. We had no idea, is it a good area? Is it not? It was complete blind faith. And lo and behold, later on, as we learned the areas in Gilbert, we were fortunate enough to have picked out a really nice neighborhood, and it worked out really well. So we settled in, and when was it when we went to Greece? Was it like 2000?
We went in August of 22.
22.
So for a very long time, we always wanted to travel abroad.
So you came out here and you got on the list right away?
No. What happened was we came out here June of 2019, and in 2021, in 2020, excuse me, I started my treatment out here, and as time was going by, my kidney function was dropping drastically. So in 2017, when I was diagnosed at 33% function, by 2019, I was down to 20. And it was declining rapidly. And it got to a point where I had to start dialysis. And that started in February of 21.
That's probably why God put a bullhorn in your face.
Yep.
Arizona.
Yep, absolutely. No. Yeah. And I think, once he started dialysis, he started losing a little bit of faith, and he said, I can't do this forever. It's taking so much energy and time out of me. And I can tell there was a little bit of, I don't want to say depression, but he used to be down every now and then. Just, you're sitting there with a needle up in your arm for hours, and it's exhausting. By the time you leave dialysis, you're just exhausted. And I don't think I ever lost faith. You sort of went up and down with the whole situation. You weren't sure, did we do the right thing? But I think what changed was we had decided, okay, we need to take a break. And he had surprised me with a trip to Greece that I didn't even know about. And he had made arrangements out in Greece to get dialysis while we were out there on vacation.
Wow.
So during the vacation, I went in for 3 days for dialysis. So yeah.
You must have a backbone, man, to want to go out of the country while you're on dialysis.
It's crazy.
I would have curled up in a ball and been like, I can't do anything.
For me, I don't think I won't say I lost faith. I got tired. Certainly I got tired. There were times where I was just like, okay, I know this is what I have to do. Can you, again, this is my sense of humor. I'm talking to God saying, God, can you at least give me a hint how long this is going to take, just so mentally I'm ready for this? But no, I made plans, and that was the first question she asked. She's like, how are we going to go if you're at dialysis? I said, don't worry, everything's already handled. They've already talked to each other, and the files are done.
I had no idea. I had no clue. And
you found out about it. We were in Utah. We had a layover in Utah. So we stopped and we got off the plane, and I was walking over to another terminal. She goes, where are we going?
I had no idea. I had no idea where we were going. I didn't even pack. We didn't pack for it.
No, we had carry-ons, 2 carry-ons. That's it for 10 days. 2 carry-ons.
And so from Utah, we were going to board.
Amsterdam. We were going to board KLM, which is an international flight. She's like, what is this?
I said, where are you taking me? Where are we going? He goes, what did you say? We're heading west, I said?
We're heading east. In fact, some of our friends were asking, where are you guys going? Oh, we're going to the East Coast. I never mentioned
I didn't realize how east you were taking me, but it was a wonderful trip, and it was great to take that time away just to have together time and sort of reflect and pray. And I remember it was our 3rd day in Greece, and we decided to go into a monastery. This was up in the mountains, up in Crete, in the village of Crete, and it was beautiful. And we just decided to go into an Orthodox church and light candles and pray. And that moment was like such an aha moment, because we looked at each other and we said, it's going to happen. We just both felt it. Hang in there. It's going to happen.
We both said it will happen before the end of the year. So this is August of 22.
Yes.
We both said it's going to happen before the end of the year.
So would you say God came to you in that church? And
Yes.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
think he just said, for me at least, like, relax.
you both had the same experience in
Both
essence?
together. We walked out, we just looked at each other, and it was synchronicity. We just looked at each other and said, it's going to happen. We just felt it. We knew it. And it was a trip I think we both needed because it gave us time to reflect and pray and just get out of the chaotic everyday routine. And once we had that moment to just reflect and pray, it was abundantly clear that it was going to happen.
That was the moment your faith turned to trust.
Absolutely.
I think, and it was funny because the monastery, there was no one there, no one out
There was
walking
no one
around.
there.
It was quiet. The only thing we heard was the wind blowing through the trees. And we've often said, God is always talking to us. We just have to listen. And I think for us,
Amen.
that moment was when we were listening.
And he was talking.
And he was talking.
Absolutely.
And we both looked at each other like, yeah, it's going to happen. And I think we always had the faith. I think, yeah, I would agree. That's when we had the trust. Yeah, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
We knew it.
And that's not to say we don't have our moments. I mean, we're human. I mean, doubt enters your mind. But I think now where we are as far as faith is concerned, when we have our doubts, we sort of see it as Satan trying to play with our minds.
Right.
And that's when we are now strong enough to say, go away. You're not going to put doubt in my mind or fear in our hearts. We trust the Lord. And that's been a game changer for us because so many doors opened up after that for us.
Very much so. And I remember when we got back from Greece, life took over because we came back in September. Then it was the holidays came around, Thanksgiving came around, and then we were getting ready.
We were getting ready for Christmas.
For Christmas and New Year's. Yeah.
So once you came back, how long did it take before?
Well, that's the funny part. So we came back in late September. By November, I remember, and I was going to dialysis 3 times a week, 4 hours a day.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And for those who have never seen it, experienced it, or don't know anybody who's gone through it, picture you being run over by a Mack truck 3 times a week for 4 hours. And by the time you get done, you're absolutely drained. It took me 6 months to get used to just driving myself because it's
yeah, I would have to drop him off and pick him up because he was just so exhausted. He couldn't even drive. And then I think after 6 months you were more comfortable and he said to me, I think I can take it from here.
Yeah.
But on my end, it was just to make sure the medications were there. The diet had changed completely because, he couldn't eat protein. I don't think you had beef for 3 years.
For 5 years.
For 4 years.
It was like my diet was salad, chicken, or
soup,
chicken salad. That was it.
Yeah, it was a rough ride, but we got back September,
and then and by November, I told Mary on one of my treatment days, I said, I'm tired. I don't want to go.
I don't know how much longer I can do this. And I said, it's coming. Just hold on. It's coming. And December 16th,
we
got the call.
We got the call.
So you came back from that church in Greece in September, and then in December,
we got the call.
3 months later, we got the call. I was at Costco with our daughter, which in itself is an interesting story. But I got the call from the hospital. And I didn't pick up because it seemed like, because we always get spam calls, and I thought it was another spam call. I didn't pick up. And the gentleman had left a message for me. I listened to it, and he said, as soon as you have a chance, give us a call. And I cut off the message and went about my business. A few minutes later, my sister-in-law from Virginia calls and says, the hospital is looking for you. Please give them a call.
It's true.
God got his bullhorn back out.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back and listened to the rest of the message, and I had stopped the message just before the man said, it's urgent. I missed a minor part of the message. So I called Mary. I said, the hospital's calling. Let's get on a 3-way call. Now, she wasn't even answering the call because she was on another line. So I texted her, call me back ASAP. I've never said ASAP. calls me back.
Yes. And when I saw that message, I thought, okay, what's going on? He never says ASAP unless there's an emergency, something dire. And when I called him, he said, the hospital's called me. They found a donor. I need to go in now. And we couldn't mentally wrap it around our heads. Like, what do we do now? Even though they had told us how to prepare, it was just so shocking to get that news that we found a donor. You need to get to the hospital ASAP. And we dropped everything basically.
We did, but it never registered to me. We weren't ready for it. Like mentally, we weren't ready. We were told, but we weren't ready. And how long before you can get on the road? I had all the faith that it's going to go well. I had no doubt in my mind it was going to go well.
You knew this was coming anyways.
I knew it was coming, and this was why we had come here in the first place. I knew it was going to happen, and I knew it was going to go well. I had no doubt in my mind.
That's why you have a relationship with God, huh?
Amen.
Amen. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. We listened. We understood, innately understood. I mean, it's funny going back to the movies that we were talking about. One of my favorite movies is The Wizard of Oz. And I always tell the kids, follow the yellow brick road. And that's really what we've done. We follow God. And when you let go of your ego and you let go of having to be in control of everything and you just trust God and you just say, despite all the obstacles, despite what anybody says, I'm listening to you, amazing things happen. And not only did he get a donor, it was completely life-changing to no more have to go to dialysis. And family and friends were like, hooray, you guys did such a wonderful thing moving to Arizona. And
it happened exactly 3.5 years after we arrived.
3.5 years. And that's what the nurse had said. It would be between 3.5 to 5 years.
And you were doing dialysis 3 times a week for 4 hours a day. There's no chance of you making it 10 years in California. If you hadn't listened to what God told you to do, if he hadn't said Arizona, Arizona, Arizona,
he would not be sitting here with me today. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, I got to tell you, the very fact that you're telling the story is kind of a spoiler that it went well.
I started listening more.
The process started way back in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it took all that time, 3.5 years. That's how far God led you out.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think it started. In many ways, it would have probably started earlier. I think 2019 is when we really started paying attention, and things started falling into place. We also had, like Mary said, we had detractors who were saying, "Why are you going?" We didn't care. We were going to go, and this is what we're going to do. But along the way, we also met people who we feel
guided us to that point. People that, we met a friend through another friend who guided us
through the entire medical system, because they're familiar. His wife is a hospital administrator. He was in the pharmaceutical industry. So he was able to really
guide us to what we need to do as far as
insurance,
all the insurance and the paperwork. And it was even that the timing of meeting him was incredible. It just all fell into to where it needed to fall into. Right place, the right time. And all the puzzles came together, all the pieces came together. And
do you think God put those people in your path?
Absolutely.
Without a doubt. There's no way I would have met this couple had it not been for a series of events that culminated in us meeting another couple who then introduced us to this couple.
Yeah.
Wow, God loves you.
The Lord has the best sense of humor ever.
I've noticed that as well. But you know how to listen, don't you?
I've learned over time.
You both do, obviously.
Yes.
Well, my listening skills were developed much faster with Mary in my life. Prior to that, I was kind of drifting in and out a little bit. I was never really far from God.
Death was something that he was uncomfortable talking about, and in his mind, he was convinced that he was going to die just like his father passed away. And I said, "You're not," and We spent hours together just talking about the Lord, and I had to reel him back in and say, you know, all these doubts that are in your mind, all this fear of death, and all this black, dark thoughts in your head. You know, this isn't you. This is the devil trying to convince you you're not good enough. You're not worthy enough. You're, you know, all these bad things are going to happen to you. He was truly convinced he would die just like his father at age 51. And I had a big celebration for him for his 50th birthday. We invited family and friends. And, you know, that night we're celebrating and he's a little bit down thinking, this is it. I'm done, and so forth. And
that is a great story. That is a fantastic story. All right. So I want to do something with you guys now. So I'm going to do this to one or the other of you, but only one of you. Who wants to go?
Mary.
Okay, I'll go.
All right. We're going to do what we call the top three. Okay. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions and you, without thinking,
Okay.
you give your answers.
Okay.
All right. Now, if Jesus was talking to the Father and he was talking about him, what are the top three things Jesus would say to God about him?
He's sincere. He's very loving. And he's an amazing husband and father. He's a good soul.
I think those are things that God wants you to be.
I've come to realize that.
You must be doing something right.
I listen. That's the only thing I've done right. I listen.
And along with that, I think that's where you are more likely to help others and reach out, because your pain also becomes your wisdom.
I like that. I like that. Well, you guys have been fantastic. I really appreciate you guys coming on the show.
It's been great.